1.3, we're going to learn how to solve equations. I think a lot of you remember this from Algebra 1, so this shouldn't be too difficult, I hope not. So, but you do have 5 templates. I'm just giving you different examples. So they get more and more difficult as we go, but they're not going to be too crazy hard yet. So how do you get x alone? You do the opposite of a positive 3, and the opposite of a positive 3 is a negative 3. Whatever you do to one side, you got to make sure you do to the other side. You draw your line. The 3 and the negative 3 cancel out. You're left with just an x equals 7 take away 3 is 4. No, you do not have to check your answers and put the 4 back in. Throughout this whole chapter, there are answer keys to check, and we come around and check. So this one, you subtract 7 to both sides first. I like drawing a line. The only thing you have left here is 3x equals. You can use your calculator if you don't know what a -5 and a -7 make. It makes a -12. The next thing you're going to do is divide, because the opposite of multiplying is dividing, so you do the opposites of operations. X is equal to a -4. The next one, they're all very similar. The opposite of a +4 is a -4. You're going to get a -6x left on the left-hand side equals a -18. Divide both sides by a -6. X equals 2 negatives equal a positive, and that's why it ends up becoming a +3. These two over here are special. I want to talk about them. I'm going to rewrite them so that it looks more like what the worksheet looks like. This is what the worksheet looks like. It looks like x divided by 5 equals 2. What's the opposite of division? If it's x divided by 5, everybody see that there's a division bar right here? The opposite of division is multiplication. So all you're going to do is multiply both sides by 5. You always just do the opposite to get rid of something. The 5's then will cancel each other out. You'll have x equals 2 times 5 is 10. So that's how you get rid of division, is multiplication. Let's do another one. X divided by a -3 equals 4. Again, this is a division. How do you get rid of division? By multiplying by a -3. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. The -3's will cancel each other out, so you're going to only have an x left on the left-hand side, and 4 times a -3 is a -12. Okay, they're just becoming a little bit more challenging as we go. The first thing you have to do, since these two are on the same side, you have to put like terms together first. And we learned in the last section how to put like terms. 3x plus 4x makes 7 x's, and then the -6 equals 15. How do you get rid of a -6? You do the opposite. Add 6 to both sides of your problem. Draw your line. The only thing you're going to have left on the left-hand side is 7x. On the right-hand side, you're going to get 15 plus 6, and 15 plus 6 is 21. How do you get rid of 7 times x? The opposite of multiplication is division, so that's why I'm dividing both sides by 7. X is going to equal a +3. Very similar to this one. You have to put these two together before you start. 2g's take away 3g's makes a -1g. You don't have to have the -1. You could just say -g. It's up to you. Plus 7 equals 12. The opposite of a +7 is a -7. Don't forget to do it to both sides of your problem. You're left with a -1g equals 5. Get rid of the -1 by dividing both sides by -1. These two cancel out. G equals a -5. And the last two problems for this assignment, I think it's the last two. Nope, we have one more page, sorry. We have to do the famous distributive property. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times a negative 2 makes a negative 6 equals 15. So the first thing you have to do is the famous distributive property. I went over this with you on the last section also. This is a property that will always come back, and you'll always have to know how to do the distributive property. Add 6 to both sides. You're going to get 3x equals 15 plus 6 is 21. Divide both sides by 3. You're going to get x equals 7. Okay, one more. You take a negative 4 and multiply it by x by doing the distributive property, and you get a negative 4x. You take a negative 4 and you multiply it by a negative 1. Watch out, you have 2 negatives, and 2 negatives equal a positive 4 equals 12. In order to get x alone, you have to subtract 4 to both sides. You're going to be left with a negative 4x equals 8. A negative 4x equals 8. The opposite of multiplying is dividing, so I have to divide both sides by a negative 4 in order to get my x alone. X is going to equal 8 divided by a negative 4 is going to give you a negative 2. Okay, last template for the day. These are just the most challenging ones that you're going to see on the worksheet. You don't just do one distributive property, you have to do it twice. So there's a lot to do. The more organized you are on this page, the neater you are, it's going to make a big difference. So distributive property, 2 times 2x, 4x. 2 times a positive 3 plus 6. So far so good. Everybody see how I got 4x plus 6? Keep going. A positive 4 times 3x is a positive 12x. A positive 4 times a negative 6 is a negative 24. Set it equal to 14. So that's your first move. The next thing I'm going to do is put like terms together on the left-hand side. I can put the 4x and the 12x together, and that gives me 16x's. I can put the 6 and the negative 24 together, or you could use your calculator. 6 take away 24 is a negative 18 equals 14. And now you're back to the front page of your notes. How do you get x alone? You add 18 to both sides. You're going to have 16x left on this side. And on the right hand side, you're going to get 14 and 18 make 32. Divide both sides by 16 to get x alone, because that's the opposite of multiplying. And 32 divided by 16 is x equals 2. I like boxing them in. Okay, last problem. I would advise you to turn it off. See if you can do it on your own. If you can do the last problem, which is the most challenging problem in the notes, if you can handle doing the last problem and getting it right on your own, you're going to have no problem doing the worksheet on your own. So here we go. Negative 3 times 2x is a negative 6x. A negative 3 times a positive 2 is a negative 6. Now we have to distribute the 8. 8 times x, 8x. 8 times a positive 2, positive 16 equals 22. We're almost done. The only thing we have to do is put like terms together before we can solve for x. If you have a negative 6x and you add 8x to it, you're still going to have a positive 2x. A negative 6 and a positive 16 is going to give you a positive 10 equals 22. Now that you have everything reduced, now I can solve for x. The opposite of addition is subtraction. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. The only thing you have left is a 2x equals 12. Divide both sides by 2. You're going to get x equals 6. And that's all the notes for this section.